Hello students. This is the second part of today's lecture. I think you must remember where we have finished in the video 1. We talked about course blog and the course YouTube channel. Now the remaining part is the course contents and the weekly breakup. Just to remind you again that this YouTube channel is important in the way that I am sharing my videos on this channel, all the lectures which are recorded, and you can go to this channel and preferably I suggest that you subscribe this if you are having a YouTube account. If you don't have a YouTube account, then of course you can just save this address. You can go to this address, and what will happen that when you go to this address you will see a playlist. I'll make a playlist for you which will consist of a probably I'll share the name with you later, but the name of the playlist will be Fall 20 Zoology. So most probably this will be the name of the playlist. So Fall 20 Zoology will be the playlist which will have all the lecture videos in a particular sequence so that you can easily access those. Now course contents and the weekly breakup. This is the next part. The first week we are going to talk about, of course, introduction to the course as we are talking now. Review of the previous knowledge. Of course, I'll have to do a session with you about review of the previous knowledge, that what information you already have about this course, and I think I'll have to arrange another session with you, a Zoom session online with you. I'll try to do that in next class. We'll see that how can we talk about this. Then the next thing that we have to talk about is the biological principles and study of zoology, the animal science. We'll briefly talk about animal conservation concept and the concept of animal evolution. So these are the topics for the first course. The main content that is required to study, or the reading resource I must say, is Hickman, the textbook, it's chapter 1, and Campbell chapter 1. It's your choice, and Hickman will be of course the main source. You can also take help from Campbell. I'll share these chapters with you and upload these onto the Moodle, and if you are having problem with access to the Moodle, then I can share that in email as well. Next is significance of animals and their study in real life. Next week we'll talk about significance of animals and their study in real life. So what's the significance of studying animals in real life? Like for example, there are examples of animal-based commercial applications. For example, we eat meat all the time. So what's meat? It's animal muscles. Animals are grown for having meat. We eat fish. We eat mutton. We eat other animals like chicken or so. So how they are grown, what are the how the biological principles are utilized in growing them, we'll briefly talk about it. Now we use honey. Honeybee farming is another field. Fish farming is a field. In the forestry, animal study is very important because animals can disturb the whole of the thing. Like in crops, when we are storing our crops, this is very important to study animals and know about animals because they can actually disrupt our storage. There are storage pests. There are pests which can attack the crops. There are animals in the safari parks, in the zoos, that are studied by students to know about animals and the various life forms. There are animals which are used in research, like any kind of research, medicines, pharmaceuticals, when they are formed. You must have studied these days or just read these days in newspapers or so, that different types of vaccines were developed. People are trying to develop different vaccines for the COVID-19, and what has happened that those were first tested on animals and then on human volunteers. So there are various fields where animals are actually used and they are studied. So we'll talk about those examples in detail in that week. So next week is for this information. Then Next part is the biological principles. How to solve a scientific problem in animals. When we are studying animals, how we solve different types of problems. What are the biological principles in animal life? For example, they are having DNA, they are having a particular biochemistry, they have particular enzyme setup. We'll talk about things like this, their metabolism, their different body systems, how do they work, and so on. Then studying animals, the ethical concerns. Very important ethical concerns are there in studying animals. When we are studying animals, there are so many ethical concerns. Uh, like if we are studying an animal, this is important that it should be dealt with proper care and so, and their rights should be taken care of. So we'll talk about. Then next we are going to talk about what we call animal diversity. Next bigger section will be about animal diversity. Major invertebrate phyla we will talk about. I think everyone of you should be knowing that invertebrates are animals without vertebral column, and those animals are generally considered to be comparatively lower in if we talk about the features that they do have. So adaptations and characteristics of these animals we'll talk about, classification, few examples, and the economic importance. In fourth week we'll try to cover porifera and cnidaria. In next week we are going to cover cnidaria, probably continued, and platyhelminthes. Then we'll talk about next two phyla, Annelida, Arthropoda. Then we'll talk about mollusca, Echinodermata, and we'll finish with the invertebrates. Then we'll come to the next, what we normally call the higher phylum, comparatively, the phylum Chordata. Those animals which are having notochord are called basically chordates. We are going to talk about those, their adaptations, characteristics, classification, examples, economic importance, the main characteristics. We are mainly following Hickman's book for here you can see here different chapters for animal diversity preference. But you also have an option that you can study from Campbell, you can also study from the internet and many other sources. Then we will talk about its subphylum Vertebrata in more detail. We will talk about their characteristics, classification. We know there are 5 classes in vertebrates, um, like fishes, amphibians, reptiles, birds, and mammals. We are going to talk about their characteristics in some more detail. Then next section will be animal ecology. How animals are related to the environment. What's energy flow? What are the food chains and food webs? I am sure you are already aware of that. We will also talk about their significance and we'll try to make those relationships. Then we will also talk in next week, 14th week, we will talk about animals or animal material based industry and the business, like fish farming, like poultry farming, and so on. Then last 2 weeks I'm dedicating these for the discussion. In discussions, this is possible that I go for online only mode, and I can go for discussions with synchronous mode, preferably, precisely, because we are going to talk. We want to involve all of the students of the class, so we can do online sessions. And you will have to share your material most probably, like your information, your answers, through course blogs, maybe through Google Forms, or maybe by any other. Now the last part is the course evaluation. How the course will be evaluated, how it will be actually graded. The final examination that will be on campus as per decision by the administration. So 30% will go to final examination, 20% to midterm examination. Quizzes are assigned 10% weightage, assignments another 10%, 25% is given to the lab activities, and discussions will be 5%. Those will be all online, 100% total. Then what's the practical work? Though we'll talk about this in more detail in labs, but I briefly just talk about it. in first lab, we'll talk about introduction to the lab part, the guidelines, how you should work in the lab, ethics, notebook writing, and campus survey. Next will be planning animal-based experiments, considering ethical guidelines. We'll talk about it, that how we can plan an animal-based experiment. Study a museum as a source of preserving the life forms, and a report you will have to make. Then next, I'll show you, or maybe I can give you on the blog different types of animals specimen. I can show you those in the lab, or maybe I can refer you to the blog of the museum on which you can, or maybe Facebook page on which you can go and you can study and draw and write down characteristics of preserved specimen of invertebrate phyla and vertebrate phyla. This will be quite a larger part of the um, this lab course, because we have studied a lot of animal diversity. Here you will observe them practically and also write down about their features. Field observations of animals on FCC campus and study their association with the environment. This will be one more part. Then different types of animal behavior and the observations about birds and mammals. A few examples. You will be suggested to do this at home or on campus board. Then study of animal communication. I'll explain you when we study. So virtual, like for example, how animals are producing different sounds when they are producing. They are fighting. They are asking for food. They're trying to communicate with each other, and so on and so on. Then two virtual labs I also have. These are very useful virtual labs. These are the things that we cannot normally do inside on the campus. So two interesting virtual labs I'm recommending. I'll share you the websites and suggest you or tell you that how to do this. Maybe I can give you a help, or maybe you have to explore these on your own. Then the library resources, a soft copy of chapter readings will be provided on Moodle and maybe in email as well. Now, policy for the students who have limited internet access. This is very easy because I already have explained that I am going to give you the YouTube video links. So lectures will be recorded and you will have all of these on YouTube. So you can also go and refer to the YouTube on your ease, and you can also of course download videos from YouTube. So there'll be no problem. If they are having problem in submitting their work, I can give them extra time or extend the deadline for them. Then a few course policies very briefly. Moodle will be used throughout the course for all kinds of communication. So on Moodle, I am communicating everything like exam dates, quiz dates, assignments, and everything. All assignments will be submitted on Moodle. And attendance, I'll record all the sessions for attendance. In class participation, discussion participation will also be considered as attendance. Now please submit all the projects, presentations, if there is a problem, except for on the due dates. All communication will be through two ways only: FCC email ID and Empower or Moodle. Preferably FCC email ID and Moodle. So please always log on to them almost daily, preferably, and work on them. Lab rules, lab projects will also be should also be submitted on time, and you are expected to participate each activity, whether it's on campus or it's virtual. Last thing, but not the least, plagiarism and cheating. No plagiarism, no cheating. Whenever you need to talk to ask something, please ask me, or go and refer to your student handbook for all the rules and regulations. No plagiarism and cheating will be excused. So, thank you very much. This is the first lecture, first class, all the information that is required for you. And inshallah, we'll meet in person when you come on campus.